Welcome back to this is Spitball and Sports, the NHL edition, and I'm lucky and happy to have with me a guy who's everywhere, busiest man in the business, NHL full press, Jim Biringer. How's it going, man?
What's going on, John? Good to be here. Busy, yeah, busy is right. A little slow recently, but that's okay because it was busy. But we're everywhere. It seems like we'll just play the music. I've been everywhere, Johnny Cash. Find the original version of that song because literally everywhere.
Yeah, all across Canada, United States, you're all over the place. Talking hockey, which I love, and I'm glad that thank you for bringing it to Spitball and Sports because we need a good dose of it. Let me ask you, because I want to get right into it. We know I didn't cover this yet with the Spitball and Sports group, but we'll go quick. I mentioned it on the Friday show. The NHL, obviously, Vegas wins 4 games to 1. They win 9-3. Injuries for Florida. First question for you. Is Vegas a team that you see being a dynasty or one of those teams that will repeat next year? How do you think?
Can we classify this team as a dynasty already? I mean, in the history of modern sports, has an expansion franchise made the playoff 5 of 6 years, 2 trips to a championship and win? I mean, that's to me is the definition of a modern day dynasty, and all doing it in the salary cap. I know everybody talks about dynasties and championships and all that stuff, but what this team has done, I mean, since they've come into the league, has been remarkable. They go for the high rollers. I don't know if they'll go high rolling this year, but they always seem to go after the player that's available. Whether it was Mark Stone, whether it was Alex Pietrangelo, Jack Eichel, they always went Max Pacioretty. They made tough decisions. Look, there's no reason why this Vegas team can't repeat. Like, there is no reason, right? I mean, they're pretty much going to have the same team back, maybe minus a couple of guys. We don't know what Ivan Barbashev's status is going to be. Aiden Hill, where they're going to get on the open market. Kelly McCrimmon's probably working right now with both agents, trying to get deals done, figure out how they're going to fit into the salary cap. They're going to have to move money out. Barbashev's he's a top, spoiler alert, you look at all these free agent boards, right? He's my number one guy on my free agent board just because what he did in the playoffs. That hit opened up a lot of eyes. I know you can make the case for Orlov or Bertuzzi, guys like that, but to me, what Barbashev means to a team, what he can do for a top 6 with that line with Eichel and Marshall. So that line isn't what it is without Barbashev. Those guys don't get those points without Barbashev. So to me, this Vegas team is going to be really, really good. They're going to be different. Every team is different. But do I see a cup hangover? I don't think so. I think this team has always been focused. Right coach, you have good goaltending. I think any goaltender can succeed in this system. Look out for Vegas. They're not going away anytime soon. I hate to say it, but they aren't.
Yeah, Barbashev, what do you think does he get? What's what happened? What do you sign that guy? Is it 5x5? Is it more? What is he?
I'm thinking 4 to 4.5 because he's at 2.5 right now, so double that. I can see 5 times 5, definitely. I think somebody could definitely do that. I don't know if you go any higher than that, but 4 to 5, I think that's the range for Barbashev. I wouldn't go any higher than that on him on on a long deal or something. But you know what? He deserves it. 2 Stanley Cups, and he's been a contributor on both. So, and he's not just a middle 6 guy. You could see he can play top 6 minutes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's go to Florida side. So many, Ekblad, Kachuk, Montour, major injuries. These guys really got banged up. Let's go the other direction because it sucks. You lose the Stanley Cup Finals, and now here you are getting ready for free agency. Bam, right away. Are they going to regress, you think?
I could see it. I could see them taking a step back this year. I really do. I mean, the division teams are getting better. You're going to have players out for a while. I mean, I know Kachuk's supposed to be back, and I know certain guys are supposed to be back like before the season starts. But if Montour's out a while, Ekblad's out a while, that's two key pieces on your defense. I know Paul Maurice a great coach, but those are two major blows. Is Bobrovsky going to bounce? Is he going to actually have a great regular season? Because they're going to need him to. What about Alex Line? There's Spencer Knight. To me, Florida's a team. Look, they had a great regular season. They backed into the playoffs this year. Man, it's going to be tough to follow up this run. I mean, they have to, but it's going to be tough because Toronto's there. We don't know Boston's status. What about Tampa? But Ottawa's better. Detroit's going to be better. Buffalo's better. We know Montreal's there too. And on the other side, Pittsburgh, Washington, Devils, Carolina, the teams aren't going anywhere. So it's going to be a fight to get back into the playoffs. If they start slow again, it might be too much to overcome this time.
Let me ask you before I get into some specifics, and I want to talk about the Devils because they've been very interesting. But with what's happening with the cap, right? It's not going up, but maybe $1 million. But they're saying that it's going to be big. It's coming. It's going to be a big chunk. They are promising, or what it seems like in the following season. Does that mean this offseason is going to be weird? What could happen here with teams knowing it's coming, but
Look, I've always said that the general managers should eventually learn their lessons, and they never do because they always sign bad contracts for bad players, especially in this cap world we live in. I wouldn't be shocked if it's shorter term deals, knowing guys know that next year they could really, really hit it big with the cap going up significantly. I wouldn't be shocked that guys take 1-2 year deals just to know, hey, a couple years I can hit it big again. I wouldn't be shocked to see that. Players bet on themselves a little bit more. We could see more trades instead of big signings. Maybe guys don't take say for instance we go to Barbashev for him and he's like, I'll stay in Vegas for 2 years. Stay at $3 million. All right, but that's fine. I know in a couple years I'm going to get paid anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I could win a couple more Stanley Cups to add value to my. So, but again, it's all depending on what the general managers want and what teams need. Look, some teams have to be smarter than others. A lot of teams have to shed cap space because they're up against it. And I think, some of the, say you sign a player long term, take the Devils for instance. They say they sign Meyer at 9. Just say that's the number, right? If the cap goes up, the top 3-4 players are still only eating up 25% of the cap. So it's not like it's a huge deal. It's still really reasonable, and you still have room to sign players. So I think that's where you're going to see it. I think teams are going to try to finagle a way to find more money this offseason than anything.
How happy were you with Bratt's contract? How the Devils handled that?
It was a win for the Devils. I also think it's a win for the players. They win on both sides. Is it a little much for me? Yeah, look, good for him. But you realize that these contracts are not based on playoffs. It's all based on regular season numbers, and this is what he wants. If he's not getting $8 million, and the Devils wanted a structure, they want a salary hierarchy. Tom Fitzgerald says one that doesn't have to do with the other, but they want Jack Hughes to be the top end guy. If Meyer's the top end guy, okay, it's not a big deal. I don't think Hughes is going to care too much. His contract's going to have value, and if Bratt continues to play like he is, and if he puts up 73 points again or puts up 80, 85 points, that AAV is already going to have value. Nico Hischier, 7.25 already has value. So the Devils are finding ways to get money. Hischier's going to be up again soon, and Hughes down the road, and they're building their core the right way, and they're doing things the right way. And Fitzgerald's taking things from other teams' models, and you have to do that. Look, Fialis at the market, and then you had Caulfield come in there, Suzuki. So it's right around those guys' numbers for what he's done, a 30-goal scorer. He had admitted he needs to be better in the playoffs. He needs to score goals when his team needs it the most. Can't be a perimeter player. That's great. Learning lessons. And that's stuff you need to work on in the offseason. Now the Devils, they're probably going to lock up Meyer this week, potentially. I think they're going to get that done before the draft. I really think they want to have it done before the draft, to be honest. And if they don't, well, then it's going to linger. But again, they have time. But I think that's something they want to do. I really believe they want to get him in under 9. I think that's the goal, close to Jack as much as possible, so they have more room to spend on other guys. Because you look at the Devils' cap space. Yeah, you have $34 million to play with. Well, $7 million already went to Jesper Bratt. So now you're down to, 20 something. So, and now you say another 8 goes to Meyer. Okay, that goes down even more. So they're trying to be smart with this. And, when the cap eventually goes up, these contracts are going to be steals.
Oh my God, yeah, Jack Hughes. If you don't know about him out there, and sometimes you don't, I mean, 'cause you're in New Jersey. This guy, he's Mitch Marner. He is better. I don't know he's one of the top guys. I mean, he's unbelievable. I think he's a hidden secret. I want to get your thoughts on him because it's unbelievable when you look at the numbers.
I mean, look, everybody was complaining when he came into the league. Oh, he's too small, this and that. Oh, he gets hurt too much. Bro, he was 18. Like, I was telling everybody, bro, he didn't even put his man weight on yet. Wait till you put a man, like, everybody remembers when they're 18. Like, you still get pushed around. Next 4 years when you put your man weight on, like, people aren't going to start touching him, when he finally develops even more. And I think he's going to put on more weight the offseason. His brother's there, Luke Hughes. I mean, that kid's a stud too. But yeah, Jack Hughes is going to be an MVP conversation from here on out. I mean, he set the Devils record, 99 points. He was a point away from 100. Broke Eliash's record. This kid's unbelievable what he's done. He's even he still missed some games because of a little bit of injury. But he played through some injuries too, and that's what you gotta love. And same with Heischer. I mean, Hughes is an unbelievable rising star in the NHL. He's a marketable face like Marner, like those guys. He reunited with his boys at the F1 in Montreal. Him, Zegras, and Caulfield were all together again. So that was kind of cool to see. He gets it. So again, value contract for that team. Nico Heischer's up for the Selke. He's gonna be there for a long time too. The Devils have 2 of the best young centers in the league, and they built the team the right way.
Yeah, and they really have, and they're dangerous, and I think they quietly are dangerous in my mind. You know what I mean? Just because they're in New Jersey, if they were in New York, Toronto, or even LA, my God, we'd be talking relentlessly about a guy like Hughes.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, look, everybody, it's New Jersey, poo-poo, who wants to go there? Well, they're changing it. They're changing that tune real quick about guys wanting to be here and guys wanting to come here. Dougie Hamilton, you got Jack Hughes staying here long term. You got Nico. They're building the things the right way. Meyer tells his agent, "Get me here, sign me here long term. I want 8 years in New Jersey." Okay, great. Then don't forget they got Dawson Mercer on that team. I was listening to some things and people are saying, potentially Bratt might not finish out his contract with New Jersey. I could see that. Maybe, Mercer too. I don't know. I think you have the replacement there. New Jersey's got a lot of things to do. Still got to upgrade a goal a little bit. Defensively, you got to replace Severson and Graves. I mean, they have Nemec. You have Hughes. Do you bring in a stopgap guy like, Gustafson or Luke Shen, a guy like that could help out? Maybe a Carson Soucy, just a player, just that veteran presence to have back there because Brendan Smith isn't cutting it. And then you look up front, Boquist, what's he going to get? Do they even qualify him? I think Sharon Govich is gone. I think Miles Wood is gone. Blackwood's probably out the door too. So, McLeod and Bastian will be re-signed. Where do you look? How do you fill wingers? Eric Haula is going to come back. So, the Devils are going to be in a good state. Now you got to follow it up. You make second round, great. Now go follow it up. Get back to the playoffs. Show that you're going to be here for a long time. Hey, you may not win next year. You may not win around next year. That's okay, but at least you got back to the playoffs.
Now let's go to the Maple Leafs, who are kind of in a different spot than the Devils. They wish they were in the Devils spot. They got a lot of work to do. Your guys took Travis Green, who I was screaming about 3 weeks ago. I wanted the Leafs to bring him in. I wanted to be the head coach of the Leafs at one point, but the Devils were where he went. He turned down the Leafs, and I think someone else too. Austin Matthews, let's talk about him, I guess. There's a perfect example. Gord Stellick, a guy who used to be a Leafs GM, was saying he thinks that he's taking a 3-year deal. There's no way he doesn't go 3 years because he knows when the cap goes up, then he can get paid big. I was thinking if he did that, if he did that at a reasonable rate, that would be beautiful for the Leafs. I know they want 8 years. Jim, what are you seeing or what do you think of Austin Matthews?
I mean, look, I think Matthews is going to resign, no doubt. I think he's going to be there. He's going to be a long-term Leaf, but it depends on cost. I think they should get him locked up long-term. I think it should be more than 5 years. I think it should be more than 3 years. If it's 3 years at 13, No. You may have to be like, all right, Austin, like we really need a couple extra years here from you. Like we need at least 6 years out of that deal. I know you want to keep hitting it big. I know you want to try to max out twice here, but you also have to do what's best for the team. I think personally, I think 8 times 13, 13, whatever past McKinnon is what you need to give him. Then he's locked up. You don't have to worry about it. He's there, and give him whatever, and whatever the trade stuff is. Okay, great. He has no movement clause, no trade clause kick in July 1st anyway. So there's no rush really to get this done, but there is, in case teams wanted him, but they're not giving him up, and you would have to give up like a Connor McDavid to get him because there's no. So Austin Matthews is staying again. If he goes 3 years, that's a poor decision by Brad Treliving to try to give him 3 years, and then you have to do this process in 2 years again. I don't think so. I don't think that's something you want to go through again. I personally try to get him locked up 7-8 years as much as possible because that's what they need to do to get a commitment out of him because the team lost last time. Now the team has to win on the contract negotiation.
Absolutely right. Yeah. And you got the cringeworthy thing is when I was watching, Kipper and Bourne, his show on Sportsnet, they were trying the whole discussion. What if he wants 15 for 8? What do you do? And that'll be if he does that. I want to get your thoughts on that because they were really debating it. What do you do if it's 15 at 8? Do you got to move him at that point?
Well, 15 at 8 starts next year because he has a year left on his current deal. If the cap goes up significantly, I'm okay with it because if the cap's going up, like if the cap goes up like 5-6 million, I can live with it.
Right.
I can live with it. Like I said, if it's over McKinnon at 8, that's ideal. That's the ideal price range because that's where it needs to be. And look, the Leafs have a lot of other work to do too. Nylander, Marner, Tavares, like all these guys, they got to sign other players. But Matthews is the priority, numero uno. And I think they'll get it done. It's just the term and the dollars and how long it's going to be.
The next thing on the Leafs, then we'll get off of them. And this was from Frank Saravelli, who I think these guys that are insiders are great because all of them, Elliot Friedman, the whole deal, Darren Dreger, without them, it's hard to get information. So, he reported something yesterday that I almost fell out of my chair. They said that TJ Brody is a possible buyout. And I said to myself, sitting here all alone, fire everyone if they do this. Why in the world? The guy's got it's 1 more year. He's got $5 million left on the deal. He's a good defenseman. He's certainly not he's a good top 4 guy. I want your thoughts on that. I was stunned when I heard buyout Brody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little shocked by that too, because he's like a trade living guy too. Like he was a big guy. That was a solid play by him, keeping him in Calgary there, and now moving him, Toronto, picking him up. But again, you look at the cost. If they buy him out, they save $5 million this year. I know the cap hit next year would be hurt, but they would save $5 million this year, and that could go towards the Nylander, signing forwards, upgrading the D. But I think the defense, and Craig Button said this, defense and goaltending has not been the Leafs' problem. No. It's scoring goals is the Leafs' problem, especially in the playoffs. They can't score. Defense and goaltending has been fine. They need to get somebody that can put the puck in the net.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they come. I think that's where if they buy out Brody, maybe you can go get somebody that does that. But again, do you want to sacrifice something that's really pretty good right now?
What a condemnation of Matthews, Marner, and Nylander. You know what I mean? When you have to go find someone to put the puck in the net, that's in the playoffs. I mean, that's the problem in Toronto. I mean, you said it right. I mean, Sheldon Keefe, he did turn that team. They were really good defensively in the regular season too. They bought into playing 200 feet. Man, and in the playoffs, it just changes. So you're absolutely right. And then Craig Button's right. They
I mean,
can't
go back.
score.
I mean, go. I said this. I know all the insiders have said it. I'm not going to credit myself being the first because everybody said it. $11 million, John Tavares could have you could have used that a lot better sometime years ago. That could have been used to upgrade your goaltending, upgrade your D, get something else. Because with Marner, Matthews, and Nylander, you didn't need Tavares. You just didn't. You just didn't. You could have got other guys to put the puck in the net. And then the other question is, what do you do with Michael Bunting? Like, is there anybody? There's nobody better out there right now. I mean, you're not going to get Barbashev in there because he's going to command a market. And outside of Barbashev, is there anybody else that you really can replace Michael Bunting with? Not really. They're going to be worse options than Michael Bunting, so they're going to probably have to bring him back.
And he's got to be. He was at 800,000, I think, or 950. His
So,
raise, 2.5, maybe
yeah,
3.
2.5, 3.
That's got because you know what, they made him in Toronto. They really did. I mean,
Yeah, and he was a guy that Matthews wanted from Arizona.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I didn't even think of it that way with Bunting because I just figured they'd let him go because of the problems, the issues, the all that stuff, the refereeing throughout the regular season. You know it all. I don't got to remind you what happened, but no, you're probably making a good point because Tyler Bertuzzi isn't coming. They don't have the money.
They don't have the money.
Fights. Yeah.
But then again, you find the money, but then again, you're losing TJ Brody if you do that.
Right. No, that's a good point. All right, let's go real quick to Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Boy, what a buyout by the Canucks. And now I want to know who you hear. I've heard some stuff, but you'll know better than me. Where does he go and he'll be good somewhere? Where do you think he ends up?
First team I think of is Carolina. I think that's a team that he'll go to. Could find a cheap deal, because that's what Carolina likes to do. Obviously, they have to deal with Brett Pesce, get him re-signed, a couple other guys, but I could see Carolina. Let's throw the usual suspects in: Dallas, Florida, Tampa, Vegas, LA. Teams like that where there's no real true state income tax. He's getting nice. He's getting a nice salary, $20 million from Vancouver to just go away. I think a lot of people wish you could get $20 million to not work or have your company tell you to go away. But look, the Canucks, that was a mistake contract for OEL. I mean, I know that's where he wanted to go, and Boston was the other team. But the contract, he's not a $7 million player anymore. And that's face facts. The Canucks need to get their defense and other areas upgraded, and they can use that money. Yeah, the cap hit will hurt them down the road, but you know what? They have a big savings this year. Like I said, I think Carolina, Florida, Tampa Bay, places like that, I definitely could use them. Maybe a team like Detroit takes a flyer, maybe a team like Buffalo takes a flyer, but again, he wants to win. And if he's put in the right position, he's not a top 4 defenseman,
right.
But like in a Carolina system, like a lot of people thought Brent Burns was done. He's not done. We're playing with Rod Brendamore, so I think that's a potential fit.
Yeah, I was actually almost Maple Leaf thinking for him at a low deal because they're always looking because they've obviously let go of Justin Hall and there's a whole.
That's not a bad fit. That's not a bad fit at a cheap deal.
Very cheap, yeah, because that's the Leafs are looking at the cheap, man. One last thing before we get into the Hall of Fame, which I can't wait to talk to you about. Peter Laviolette, the whole coaching carousel, is any one of them that, other than Mike Babcock, because that has boomer bust written all of it. All hell could break loose there, or it could be great, I think. How about the other guys? Laviolette, Brunet, do any of those guys make you think good signing or bad or anything?
I mean, Brunette to Nashville, solid signing. I think, Barry Trotz wants to get guys back there and Brunette got a raw deal in Florida. I think he handled everything, the situation with Joe Quenneville and everything after that very well. I think he learned well under Lindy Ruff. Travis Green coming in as an assistant under Ruff, that's going to be good for the New Jersey Devils. Peter Laviolette, no surprise there. Solid hiring. Just, again, took so long to do. If you really knew he was the guy in May, should have just made the announcement. I think they probably got tipped off that Quenneville's probably not coming back because they were waiting on that announcement. And We still haven't had that meeting yet, or if they did, we're not going to be told that they did. But Laviolette has a short window with that Ranger team. Like, not for nothing. We talked about it the other day. You don't want to call for anybody's job, but I know he just got there and they announced him today. But this team doesn't win in the next 2 to 3 years, he's going to be gone. And Chris Drury might follow suit too.
Yeah, and probably should if that happens. You're right. God, I was so devastated. I'm really when Travis Green went to New Jersey yesterday, I couldn't.
Yeah, I can't.
I was, and I shouldn't. I mean, it's really ridiculous. But I was like, what the,
Yeah. No,
But
I mean it's a good. I mean, look, he would have been good in Toronto. I think he would have been a great bench guy for them. I think New Jersey would have been. New Jersey's going to benefit from him as well. So
he's ready to be. He could be your next head coach if Lindy Ruff decides. I'm ready to retire. He is getting up there in age. I really like Green.
I like Travis Green. I like Kevin Dineen, who's in the system as
him
well.
too. Yeah.
So they have a good coaching staff.
Yeah, your team's set up. Holy cow!
Yeah, really, really set up.
Yeah, let's get to the Hall of Fame before I got to let you go. Love this. I love the Hall of Fame. For our viewers out there here, I'm going to throw up some names. There's some of it. Reggie Leach, Alexander McGillney, Chris Osgood. You guys can read it. David Poyle. The next grouping that I saw, Roenick, Lundqvist, Mr. Game 7, I think Justin Williams, Jennifer Potterall, and so on. Let's talk. What is your definites? Who is like there should be no questions asked.
I mean, automatic. Lundqvist is going to get in. Henrik Lundqvist is going to be in this year. It's going to be announced tomorrow. He'll head to class. As much as I think he's a great goaltender. I really do. I think he's one of the best goaltenders in NHL history. I think he was one of the best Ranger goaltenders. This is not trying to be a biased person. I just don't think he was a first ballot Hall of Famer. I just don't. Like Roberto Luongo, I just don't think he was a first ballot Hall of Famer, but Luongo set the standard now, and the standard is those guys can get in on the first ballot. So, and Lundqvist is a likable guy, still got the best hair in all of hockey, even though he's retired. That's straight fact. I even told him that one day. I said, "You got the best hair in hockey, man." Like this, and he laughed it off. He loved it. He's gonna get in, definite. To me, another name that should be in, definite, should be Jennifer Botterill. What she did, international hockey for Team Canada, great for the women's game. I think she should be in. I think she should be in there. Alexander McGillney, I don't know how this guy is not in the Hockey Hall of Fame. This dude, Stanley Cup, records, internet, and everybody has to remember, it's not the NHL Hall of Fame.
Right.
It's the Hockey Hall of Fame. And internationally, Alexander McGillney was one of the best players to play for Russia. Now, that could play a factor. Like this whole thing going on with Ukraine could play a factor, but it shouldn't, because Alexander McGillney is a Hall of Fame hockey player in the National Hockey League. He won a Stanley Cup. He rejuvenated his career in New Jersey. And it was a great trade by Lou Lamoriello. I mean, that Gomez line with him and McGillney, those two guys, I mean, that to me, that's a Hall of Famer. On the cusp, I think Patrick Elias should be in. Again, I'm not trying to be a biased Devils fan here. I'm trying to be looking at everything. Elias won internationally. He got 1,000 points, 1,000 games played, one organization, 2 Stanley Cups. If Daniel Alfredsson could get in, Patrick Elias needs to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. I think Jeremy Roenick should be in there. I think, there. Could you just put that list back up real quick?
Here's the first. Yeah.
So to me, Osgood, Crawford, those guys are borderline Hall of Famers. I know Osgood has the cups. I know Crawford has a couple of cups, but those guys to me aren't really. They're very good hockey players. Osgood was good when he needed to be. He did great in '98. He's come in and won Stanley Cups. I don't know if he's a Hockey Hall of Famer. David Poyle probably going in the builder section. I wouldn't be shocked if his name is mentioned. I think Turgeon should be in there. Kachuk should be. I don't think Zetterberg gets in the first ballot, but I think he gets in eventually.
Turgeon, you're right. Turgeon, 500 plus goals and a ton of all-star, all that stuff.
Yeah, I know he didn't win a Stanley Cup, but the standard now is you don't need a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and Kachuk had over 540 or something, or maybe he had 530. He was close to 540.
Right, exactly. So there's that. And now, like I said, what Justin Williams, he could wait. I think Rob Brendamore should be in.
Yeah, he's got good numbers.
He's
Yeah,
got good numbers, Stanley Cup. Like
yeah,
Roenick is one of the best. Roenick's one of the best American-born players ever in the NHL history. He's done things internationally as well. Was part of that '96 World Cup of Hockey Team USA team, along with Mike Richter, along with Chris Chelios, guys like that. So again, are we talking about? I mean, again, Hall of Famers, Hall of very good players. I mean, I think Cujo eventually get in. There are other guys like Mike Vernon's on the list and guys like that, but I don't think that I don't think you got to put McGillney in, you got to put Lundqvist in, Jennifer Botterill needs to be in, Patrick Elias, Rob Brendamore. I mean, there's so many great names, but again, is it the Hockey Hall of Fame or is the Hockey Hall very good?
right.
Because we need to set a standard here now. I know last year's class, Sedin's, Danny, all those guys are great players, but again, again, are we turning this into the Baseball Hall of Fame where you were nice to writers, this and that?
Right.
Are we looking at stats? Like, it's everything combined.
Yeah, and Cujo wins the gold, I think, at one of the years. I don't know if he was the starter and one of
I think it
the
was that '02 team with Canada. He was the backup to Brodeur.
backup to Brodeur. So that's a little different. Okay, because that's even like
But he still
Osgood.
won. Yeah, but he still won a gold
Right.
medal.
That's true.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
Osgood, yeah,
Osgood's got 3 cups, but he was the starter for 2 of them.
his numbers were awfully good. I saw in the playoffs, like goals against, like under
Right.
220. Nuts.
It's like for me, like Andy Pettitte should be a Baseball Hall of Famer because of his playoff numbers alone.
Right. And well, yeah, and then Don Mattingly for me. I
Right,
see guys like
exactly.
Kirby Puckett, a bunch of guys getting in. I don't know how I know why he gets overlooked, but and you know what, real quick on Don Mattingly, I know this is hockey we're talking, but it really
Yeah,
is
but I
frustrating.
mean, yeah, it really is,
No,
right?
it's really frustrating though with Don Mattingly. He got hurt wrestling in the locker room and hurt his back. And I wish I could remember the player he was wrestling with. They were screwing around, hurts his back, and because of that, think about it. Because of that, he never gets to get a World Series. He never gets to that stops him, and it always drives me crazy. He's joking around, and that's it. Back injury.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, look, there's. I mean, I'm gonna be very interested to see what the announcement is tomorrow. I really am. I think Lundqvist, we know. I hope this is the year for Alexander McGillney because, like I said, internationally, what he did, he's a member of Triple Gold Club. I mean, there's so many guys in there that are members of Triple Gold Club.
He was great with Sundin. Oh my God, that when he was in Toronto, that was unbelievable, and that was the years he was unbelievable. And then here in Buffalo, I watched him. He was
72 goal rookie season, right?
Yeah. Then he was a magician. He had 76 at one point. What year that was? I can't remember the year off the top of my head. But
I'm sorry, he's not a member of the Triple Gold Club. He's a member of the Quadruple Gold Club.
Yeah, he's got to be in. He should be.
I mean, it's international hockey.
Yeah.
Like it's not just the NHL. What he did there, and his numbers in the NHL still are good enough to get in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
One guy before I let you go, we didn't talk about, but I wanted to ask you, Zetterberg. When does he or doesn't he? What do you think of him?
Couple years.
I
think couple years. I think I like him. Conn Smythe, good numbers. A couple playoffs, got a goal. He could get in. I don't think he's first ballot guy because if we're putting Zetterberg in first ballot, then we got to put Elias should have been in first ballot too.
I know it feels like they want to put. You're right. Daniel Alfredsson was the perfect comparison to everyone.
We're putting Daniel Alfredsson in. He's a great player, but he's not first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a Hockey Hall of Famer, no doubt. He's no doubt he's a Hockey Hall of Famer. But you can't put everybody in on the first ballot. There are guys that are first ballot Hall of Famers, and there are guys that aren't. Martin Brodeur was a first ballot Hall of Famer. Right. Patrick Waugh is a first ballot Hall of Famer. They rewrote the rule for Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
So.
Right. No, you're right. I mean, because that's like the thing in the end, right? In Major League Baseball, no one's ever been 100%. I don't even think was Jeter. No, wasn't he 99 or did he get the 100?
Jeter. I think Jeter finally got 100. I think Mariano got 100. But how did Cal Ripken not get 100? Like, dude, come on.
I know. Yeah, the Hall of Fame's awesome. I love it, man. All right, I'm gonna I'm gonna let you go because now, of course, I kept you too long.
That's all right. Love it.
Everyone
Heated
can.
conversation. Heated conversation. I love it.
Me too. Jim, where does everyone find you?
Fullpresshockey.com. Find me on Twitter at Jim Biringer. His name's on the screen. Just look for me. I'll be there. Hey, you want to interact? Great. I'll respond to you. Just, don't be an idiot. Because then I'll ignore you. Don't be an idiot, or else I'll ignore you. But no, I like to interact with people on Twitter at Jim Biringer. Get me there. Get me on Facebook. I'm all over the place. Jersey Jim 33 Instagram if you want to check it out. Content's everywhere, people. We got the Let's Talk Pucks show on Let's Talk Sports, Full Press NHL podcast. Big guest coming up. Spoiler alert: Jamie McLennan will be the next guest on the podcast.
Wow.
So that's gonna be good. We'll talk some goaltending. We'll talk some free agent goalies. We're gonna talk some fun stuff. So that's gonna be a great guest. And yeah, check me out everywhere. I'll be everywhere.
All right. That's right. All right. So we're lucky to have Jim Biringer on Spitballin' Sports, the NHL edition. So you'll be back again, I know, very soon because July 1st is coming. And
July 1st is around the corner. Even when I'm out of state, I come on the podcast because hockey doesn't sleep.
That's right, it doesn't. And I'm glad you brought up Let's Talk Pucks because I'm very happy to be your co-host. Guys, keep an eye out for that one.
Dude, we'll be back. I think, I'll talk to you off air. We can do this on air, but maybe we'll do something for the Hockey Hall of Fame tomorrow. I think that's a good idea. Talk about the Hall of Fame.
I love that. All right, Jim, take it easy.
Take it easy, everybody. Enjoy.